cars that get you from point A to point B. And then there is this, a machine built by a man who thought the factory Mustang simply wasn't finished. And welcome back to Prime Car Culture, because today we are standing in front of one of the rarest, angriest, most legitimately special American muscle cars ever assembled outside of Dearborn, the Saleen S281SC. And by the time this video ends, you will understand exactly why enthusiasts still hunt for one of these 2 decades later, why collectors quietly track auction listings for clean examples, and why so many people consider this the single most complete version of the Mustang platform Saleen ever touched. Stick around for the next several minutes because we are going to cover every single panel, every surface, and every mechanical detail that makes this car so different from the Mustang parked next to it on a used car lot. This car did not start life as a concept sketch in some design studio dreaming about the future. It started as a Ford Mustang GT that rolled off the Flat Rock assembly line and was then handed over to Steve Saleen's team in Michigan, where it was pulled apart, re-engineered, and rebuilt into something Ford itself never dared to build. A factory-backed, warranty-covered, road-legal muscle car with supercar numbers, and we are going to walk around every single inch of it right now. Let's start right here at the face of the car because this front end tells you everything about the personality hiding underneath. This is not the mild, friendly face of a base Mustang. Saleen reshaped the entire front fascia, widened the lower opening, and dropped in this aggressive, deep-set grille that looks like it is inhaling the road ahead of it, a design choice made purely to feed more cold air into that supercharged engine sitting behind it. And every line here is functional first and aggressive second, which is exactly the Saleen philosophy, form always following function, never the other way around. Notice how the lower fascia pulls air in from 3 separate channels, one feeding the intercooler, the others feeding the brakes, because Saleen's engineers were thinking about track days long before the car ever left the factory floor. Now look at these headlights. Where the standard Mustang wears fairly ordinary halogen units, Saleen cleaned up the housings, tightened the lens work, and gave this car a sharper, more focused stare, so that even parked in a driveway at night, this thing looks like it is about to launch. There is nothing soft about this face, nothing apologetic, and that is intentional because Saleen wanted every single person who saw this car coming in their rearview mirror to know instantly that this was not a car to race. Moving around to the side, look at these wheels because this is where a lot of the character of this build really comes through. Saleen fitted these cars with their own in-house forged wheel designs, lightweight, wide, and aggressive, wrapped in high-performance rubber that was chosen specifically to put all 465 horsepower down onto the pavement, without turning every stoplight into a smoke show. And if you know your Mustangs, you can spot a genuine Saleen wheel from 50 feet away, because nothing else on the lot looks quite like this. The spoke pattern is unique to Saleen. The offset is wider than anything Ford ever offered from the factory, and even the way light catches these faces at a stoplight tells you this car went through a completely different design process than the standard GT sitting beside it. Right here, this door handle feels like such a small detail, but Saleen understood that the entire experience of owning a car like this starts the moment you reach out and pull that handle. That click, that mechanical certainty, it is the first handshake between you and 465 horsepower waiting patiently under that hood. And up here on the side mirrors, Saleen kept these clean, body-colored, and aerodynamically shaped, not just for style, but because at the speeds this car is capable of reaching, mirror buffeting and wind noise actually matter, and Saleen engineered these to stay stable and quiet, even when this car is doing things a factory Mustang was never designed to do. Now walk with me to the back of the car, because these taillights are one of the most recognizable signatures on the entire Mustang platform. Saleen didn't reinvent them completely, but they refined the housing, added their own touches, and paired them with a rear fascia that flows into a genuinely functional diffuser element, because remember, this car was designed by a company with real motorsport roots, and every piece back here is thinking about airflow, not just appearance, pulling turbulent air cleanly off the trunk lid, so this car stays planted even when it is being pushed well past legal speeds on a closed course. And then there is this, the reason half the people who love this car fell in love with it in the first place, these exhaust pipes. Saleen fitted this car with a performance exhaust system engineered specifically to work with the supercharged engine. tuned to deliver a deeper, more mechanical growl than the stock Mustang. And when this car starts up cold, you are going to feel it in your chest before you even see it move. That is not an accident. That sound was tuned by hand, engineered through hours of testing to hit a tone that is deep and mechanical at idle, then sharpens into something almost violent the moment this supercharger starts spinning under load. And right here, this badge, this is the whole story in one small piece of metal, the Saleen emblem, because this is not some sticker kit or a bodywork package slapped on at a local shop. This badge means the entire vehicle identification number was reissued. This car legally became a Saleen, built and warranted as one, and that is a level of legitimacy almost no other tuner in American automotive history has ever achieved. Now let's step inside, because the outside only tells half the story. Pull open that door and slide into this cabin, and you immediately notice this is not a stripped-out track special. This is a genuinely finished, genuinely premium interior. Take a look at this dashboard, because Saleen didn't just bolt performance parts onto a stock cabin. They reworked the trim, added their own gauge surrounds, brought in richer materials across the entire upper dash, and gave this cockpit a much more focused, driver-first feel compared to the standard Mustang sitting one showroom over. The kind of finish that makes you forget you are sitting in a car that started life on a mass production line. Grab this steering wheel for a second, because this is where you actually feel the difference. Saleen wrapped this wheel in supportive leather, shaped it for real driving, not just cruising. And the moment your hands land on it, you understand this car expects you to actually use everything it has to offer. Glance down at these gauges, clean, purposeful, laid out in a simple driver-focused cluster that is easy to read at speed, because Saleen understood that a car capable of hitting 60 miles an hour in barely over 4 seconds needs an instrument panel that communicates instantly, not one that makes you hunt for information while the horizon is coming at you fast. Over here, this center console, notice how everything is angled toward the driver, every switch, every control within reach, because this cabin was built around the idea that the person behind the wheel is the one piloting a genuine performance machine, not a passenger riding along. And right here, this shifter, this is where a huge part of the driving experience actually lives. A short-throw manual gearbox that Saleen tightened and refined specifically so that every gear change feels mechanical, direct, and immediate. None of the vague, rubbery feeling you get in a mass-produced economy car. This is a shifter built for someone who actually wants to row through the gears themselves. Sink into these front seats for a second, because these are genuinely supportive performance buckets, bolstered to hold you in place under real cornering loads. Not just soft cushions meant for a comfortable commute. And the stitching pattern running through this leather is a small but telling detail. Hand-finished, consistent, and clearly the work of a team that cared about the details nobody else was going to notice, right down to the way the Saleen logo is embroidered directly into the headrest, a quiet reminder every time you sit down of exactly what you are driving. Run your hand along these door panels, feel this leather, feel this stitching, because Saleen didn't cut corners here just because the horsepower numbers were already impressive enough. Every surface you touch in this cabin was considered, upgraded, and finished to a level that genuinely competed with cars costing 2 or 3 times as much money. Now, this is the part a lot of you have been waiting for, so let's pop this hood open and get a real look at what is actually making all of this possible. This is a 4.6-liter, 3-valve V8, but Saleen didn't leave it anywhere close to stock. They dropped in their own supercharger system right on top of this engine, forcing air into the combustion chambers under real pressure, and the result is 465 horsepower and 425 pound-feet of torque. Numbers that in the mid-2000s were putting this Mustang in direct competition with cars wearing far more expensive European badges. Look closely at this engine bay, because everything here is deliberate. The intercooler routing, the intake piping, the way this entire supercharger assembly is packaged to fit cleanly under a factory hood line. This is not a garage-built kit car. This is precision engineering from a company with real racing heritage behind it. A company that has spent decades building and racing its own cars at Le Mans and on American road courses long before it ever touched a single Mustang. Every bracket, every hose, every clamp back here was chosen for reliability first, because Saleen backed this build with a real factory warranty, meaning this engine had to survive daily driving, not just a single dyno pull for a magazine photo. And with this kind of power under the hood, the numbers speak for themselves. 0 to 60 arrives in around 4 seconds flat. The quarter mile is done in the low 12s. And this car simply refuses to feel like anything ordinary the moment you put your foot down, because that is exactly what Steve Saleen set out to build. A car that felt like it belonged on a road course but was still comfortable enough to drive to work on a Monday morning. That right there is the Saleen S281SC in full, a car built on the bones of an American icon, and then pushed harder, tuned tighter, and finished with a level of care that most manufacturers reserve for cars costing 3 times as much. And if you have never sat behind the wheel of one of these, do yourself a favor and go find one, because photos and video genuinely do not do justice to how special this thing feels in person. If this walk around gave you a new appreciation for what Saleen actually built back then, and a better understanding of just how much engineering was hiding underneath what looked, at a glance, like just another Mustang on the road, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now, because here at Prime Car Culture, we bring you this same level of up-close, detail-driven coverage on some of the most incredible machines in automotive history. Drop a comment down below telling us which car you want us to feature next. Give this video a like if you enjoyed riding along with us today, and we will see you in the very next one.